welcome to episode 16 of Left Turns, Red Hooks, our final WrestleMania 41 Picks and Predictions podcast. Thanks for joining me and us, as you'll see shortly. I'm your host, Dan Lindsay. I'm doing things a tad different this week. We couldn't all get together this week for a pod, but I was able to record everyone's picks this week, so I hope you enjoy the format of this podcast. It's a grudge match theme this week. Lots of big grudges to settle this week, Drew and Damian being the biggest, but AJ Styles wants to settle his score with Logan Paul. Liv and Bayley go at it in a different way, and what will become of the heel New Day at WrestleMania 41. We've got all our opinions, all our takes, so sit back and enjoy it. Let's kick it off with the Women's Tag Team Championship.
I don't mind the four women in the match. Obviously, I think they're all great. But obviously, not a whole lot of build. Not really happy with the way the women's tag division as a whole is booked. I think I texted that to you when I saw the match, which was, and you wonder why nobody cares about this stuff, because every year there's a bunch of tag teams that they do nothing with, and then at the end they throw two fantastic women together haphazardly, and then they get the match at Mania. Like, it's the same formula. It's fine. I don't hate any of the four women. I'm a big Lyra Valkyria fan, so I'll give it a 2 out of 5, 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah, so honestly, I would say if you take Liv out of this match, my excitement wouldn't really be there. I'm a huge Liv Morgan guy nowadays. I think she's had one hell of a year. And I've never really been big on Bayley, even like back in the day till now. And, Raquel, and, it's fine. I wouldn't say this is my most hyped match in Mania, but I wouldn't say it's my least either, just primarily because Liv is here. And I also thought Bayley versus Liv was a great match. I really enjoyed it. So I kind of, bumped my levels up a bit in terms of hype. But I would say an exact answer here, maybe about moderate to about maybe slightly above moderate levels of hype.
It's not jumping out at me as this giant, great match. It's clearly not, just by nature of how many awesome matches there's going to be, it's not quite landing on the radar like that for me. I'm sure it'll surprise, like between all the other women's matches specifically, it has a chance to kind of jump out and like maybe be something, but just for now, at least, it's not this thing that's gripping me.
For the Liv Raquel Bayley Lyra match, I would give this about a 2.5 out of 5. I'm not super excited for it, but I get the match. I understand why it's on the card. You do need Liv and Bayley on the card. They're two of the more premier women in WWE right now, so you need that on the card. I think it'll be a good match. I think we got some good talent here. I think this is a good way to elevate Lyra. I don't expect a lot of great things from this. Maybe we get some interesting returns. I don't know. So I'm very mid on this. It's going to be an okay match.
If WWE gives us a reason to care, if they actually start creating storylines around these tag teams that make us actually care about them as a tag team, I use this as an example, and I'll use it real quick. I'm a big Nathan Frazier fan. And I was never a big A-Kid fan. He kind of was in NXT UK after I had stopped watching. That's when he was prevalent. So I didn't really get to see him come up. He's Axiom, by the way, just in case anybody out there is confused as to who I'm talking about. A-Kid was his name previously. So they both were kind of floundering in NXT, and NXT really gave us no reason to care about either of them. But then they put the two together and made them a tag team, and they then gave us a reason to care about them, and now they just were named Wrestling Observer's Tag Team of the Year, as in the best tag team on planet Earth right now. Like, you get that way because you have to give the audience a reason to care. And unfortunately, they haven't. But you can, because you proved that you could do it with people in NXT. So I don't know how you do it specifically, but if you give us a reason to care on screen and make us buy into these individuals and as a tag team, then the women's tag team division will be elevated. But right now, unfortunately, there's not really much of a reason to care outside of the four women that are in this match.
I think the women's tag belts are pretty much just filler at this point. When it comes to just, television, main roster. You do have star power in this match. I mean, obviously, like I said, Liv, and then you got Bayley, who's a big star, Hall of Famer, probably in her own right. But the actual titles themselves, I kind of view them as giving wrestlers something to do rather than where it stands its own independence as a belt. So, um, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm terribly intrigued in the actual women's tag belts. Like, if I'm being completely honest with you, with or without the tag belts in this match, doesn't really interfere with my level of hype. Like, that's kind of how I view the women's tag belts right now. They're just kind of there.
Not really. I mean, the roster's there. My thing with the women's division in WWE specifically right now is the NXT's division specifically is amazing. It might be one of the best in between AEW and TNA. And frankly, the Raw, really just NXT specifically is a great show. But nonetheless, not really. To answer your question, no. There's not enough there to be excited.
This match is fine and all, but it doesn't help me care about the women's tag team titles. It just doesn't. It's used as a device to bring female wrestlers together and then split them apart. Bring together, split them apart. That's been like the whole mantra of these tag titles. Thank goodness there's not one for each brand. And it's part of the reason they probably did away with the NXT women's titles. And maybe this belt should actually be an NXT belt, honestly, or it should be defended even more on NXT. I know it has been, it will be, it will continue to be. But come on, let's get some actual tag teams of the women's side in this instead of shoving wrestlers together and then splitting them apart within 6 months again. I'm tired of that.
I'm gonna go with Liv and Raquel retain. I think there's still a bit of tension, a bit of beef, whatever you want to call it, between Lyra and Bayley, and I think that they're going to continue that feud a little bit. And I think they're probably leaning towards Bayley kind of going back down that bad guy path. I think she's gotten a bit stale with the audience, for right or for wrong. And so I think that's probably where they're going to go. So I'm going to have the champs retaining here.
I gotta go with my girl Liv and Raquel. I think with Liv, with the year that she's had here, I know I keep talking about Liv, huge Liv Morgan guy here, but I would like to think that because of her insane past year that we've had with her, with all of her feuds and stuff, I would like to think she'd be rewarded here. But the problem with it is like, okay, she wins the belt. What happens here? Is Liv Morgan be able to actually, in my opinion, propel the belts to something that, actually matters? Or will it be more of a sinking situation? Kind of reminiscent of like when Roman Reigns back in the day had the United States Championship. It felt like it was just to get him to have something. And it was like Cena made fun of him for, right? He was like, you didn't propel the belt, you kind of took it as a downgrade, demotion. Uh I'm curious to see. I would like to see Liv and Raquel make a run here. It's like obviously everyone in the match. I'm just talking about Liv a lot because I love her a lot, but I do think that obviously there's star power here. I do think that either side you could work something here, but I just think that Liv has so much momentum right now. Like I see her all over social media. She go on YouTube, go on to WWE's channel, all the numbers and stuff. I would like to see Liv and Raquel win this and obviously propel the belts.
I'll say Liv. She's had too good of a year. I think Liv Morgan specifically had probably there's a few other names. Rhea's up there, but they say it on commentary, like they want you to know that Liv had this amazing year this past year and 2020, 2024, and then the start of 2025. But so I think that's my winner.
My winner here I think is pretty clear. It's gonna be Liv and Raquel. There's no way that Bayley and Lyra relieve this WrestleMania with the titles. It's gonna be Liv and Raquel. Again, it doesn't help me care about this match. It doesn't help me care about the women's tag titles as a whole. But it comes down to Liv is one of the top wrestlers on the women's side. And for her to have the gold for a short time, then lose it, I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to run with this for a little while until maybe these two inevitably split. Maybe this is the team that finally is a foundation for the women's tag titles. But yeah, I just don't see Bayley and Lyra taking this one. It's going to be Liv and Raquel.
I believe Logan Paul will be victorious here. I don't want him to be, and nor do I think that would be the correct decision. But I think at this point, AJ Styles has nothing to prove to anyone. And I also think that if Logan Paul wants to be taken seriously as a wrestler, as a full-time wrestler, as he wants to put it, then I think getting a big victory on the grandest stage of them all against one of the greatest wrestlers of our generation, if not just any generation, I think would be a huge feather in his cap.
So it's not even for me who's gonna win it. It's more what I need to win, and that's Styles. I kind of just feel like this match for Styles, like I do get obviously the star power with both the Paul brothers. Like being such a huge martial arts fan and seeing Jake Paul quite literally all over the place is annoying, but I could understand the fact that the Paul brothers bring numbers and brings attention. So while I would like to say as a wrestling purist that this is a downgrade for AJ, and I think that AJ deserves better. Paul is a huge star, and you can't really deny that. With that said, I need Styles to win this because I'm okay, and I'm so used to seeing Paul lose, big matches or whatnot. So I'm good with this. I'm good with it, but I don't think that we should see a Styles loss here. And more so, I don't see where they're gonna go past this if Paul is gonna win, because I don't know if Paul was gonna stick around much longer, like in terms of past Mania, like end of Mania season. I don't know if he's gonna stick around.
My gut wants to go Styles. It could go either way, which makes it a great match already. It's like you already know this has a chance to be match of the weekend. And I don't know, it jumps out because really either one could win and it's great for them. If AJ wins, it feels like he's due for kind of a title run eventually anyways. So it's just always good when AJ wins. He's that much of a fan favorite. But Logan's such a great heel and they could push him so much. And they have. It's not that he hasn't. It's just he really could be this truly incredible pro wrestler. He reminds me a lot of MJF. They're the same, but it's almost some things are hard to describe. They're just both young and so ready to be incredible. But yeah, I'm gonna go AJ.
The winner of the Styles Logan Paul match is gonna be Logan Paul. Now, Logan hasn't beat the upper echelon of wrestlers, Cody, Rollins, Roman, but he has taken down LA Knight. He has taken down Rey Mysterio. He has had good matches with other guys. He is great in the ring, much better than I think anybody ever gave him credit for, and I do not want to give him that credit for it. And I think this is another notch in his belt. A loss does not hurt Styles in the least. Styles is one of the best wrestlers of our generation. Logan Paul gets this win. Kind of unfortunately for me, I'm a big Styles fan, but I think Logan just has it here. Just a way to just, get him more in front of the crowd and launch him into whatever's next for him.
I think that he's actually going to propel his victory against AJ Styles and use that as kind of his proof that he deserves to be next in line for a world title shot. And maybe it's not a world title. Maybe he doesn't go after Jay right away, but I do think he will then parlay it into getting a title shot pretty much right away, either with the IC belt or with the World Heavyweight Championship.
I think he goes away. Yeah, I do. I do not see him going for the world title at all. I just don't see if there's any room on really both sides of the coin of the world titles. The IC, maybe. I mean, I would say there's probably better contenders that we could get better feuds with than Paul, but I don't know. I'm really weird with Logan. Like he's that kind of that third party star in the WWE right now, but I'm not terribly big on seeing him in a bunch of programs either. Like I don't have a big interest in the Paul brothers, either one of them. Boxing, MMA, professional wrestling. So in general, I don't really see or care about what they do with Logan. And if you had to ask me, I would like to see him bugger off for a few months. I don't need to see him on television. I'm good with that. But no, if I had to predict, I don't think he's going to stick around after Mania season. He'd probably show up. I don't know if it'd be as long as SummerSlam by any means, but maybe around somewhere between here and SummerSlam.
I don't know with him. He might be one of the hardest main roster guys to predict what his next thing is, because you just don't know in his personal life off camera like what he's doing in his life, where not I don't want to say how committed he is. I guess that technically is what it is, though. Like, it just sounds a little mean to say how committed are you, but because clearly he's liked in the locker room and he's incredible. But it's like, I don't know how frequently he's around. I don't know if he's done a full year. I wouldn't, it wouldn't shock me if he hasn't. But you gotta, I mean, he's won the US title.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. He's great for Money in the Bank, isn't he? Like, wouldn't you love that? So he's only going to go up. It's just a matter of, how far they want him. If they want him a WWE champion, he's not around all the time, or he's a wild character. A guy could get arrested. Like, who know? You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. It's a tough one though.
I think Logan Paul does stick around. Now, I don't think he's going to be in the World Heavyweight Championship picture at all. I think that's going to be reserved for some other guys. Gunther, obviously, Jay, maybe even Braun. I don't think he's going to be there, but I think he will pursue the IC title. He held the US Championship, so why not the IC title? He is definitely treated as an upper mid card guy or low end, main event guy. He is treated as such, so I think why not have him pursue that belt? I don't know if he'll win it, but I think that's kind of the next program for him, is pursuing the IC title.
I think with AJ, I don't know what's next for AJ Styles. He can really go anywhere, and with the draft coming up, I wouldn't be shocked if they moved him back over to SmackDown. I don't know if they will, because they did just kind of move him to Raw, technically, although he has technically been on Raw for a long time. He's just been injured for most of it. So I don't know if they'll do that. But I could definitely see his feud with Karrion Kross continuing. I could see him getting into a tag team, perhaps with another guy who Kross has had issues with recently, in Sami Zayn. Maybe the two of them get together and go after Kross.
What I like about AJ Styles nowadays is that he's so flexible.
We'll see. But,
like, you could quite literally put him in any feud, and I'm like, okay, sure, we got Styles here, and he will make it work. I think it shows to the testament how good Styles is after all these years. So personally, I would like to think, or I guess, that we're gonna get the Kross feud extended past Mania season, but we could see a Braun Breaker match next. I think this Mania is going to tell a lot of answers about where we're going to get them, depending on results, and also just depending on how the matches go. So yeah, I would, if I had to bet, I think we're going to see the Karrion Kross feud continue here.
AJ is a top tier champion. Any company could put the top belt of that company on him, and it'd be great for the company, like WWE, AEW, anything. The problem with the WWE championship scene in the last 5 years, specifically, really, like 2020 to now, is there's been like 3 champions. It's Brock, Roman, and Cody. Though I mean, mostly Roman, obviously, but there's guys like Cody, Kevin Owens, or excuse me, AJ and Kevin Owens, guys like that, Finn Balor, that have been champion, but they haven't gotten it because it's been this reign between 3 guys. So I don't know. I always say put the belt on him, or at least put him in the picture again.
What's next for AJ Styles? Man, I really, really hope it's with Karrion Kross. We've seen Kross be in all these different feuds that have been started and then stopped. Started and stopped. And finally, we have a feud that we can sink our teeth into with AJ Styles and Karrion Kross. Karrion is mimicking him. He's coming after him. He's trying to get him to turn heel, and which is really, really good, because we obviously see Styles back as a face again with the Rumble. So I do think that Karrion Kross and AJ Styles is our next program for Styles. Styles doesn't need a championship belt. It'd be nice to see him in that picture. It'd be nice to see him in like qualifying matches for the World Heavyweight Championship, and maybe thwarted by someone like Karrion Kross to continue that feud. But I don't think Styles has to have a championship belt to be relevant. And I think a good program for him would be Karrion Kross, because then I think we could elevate Karrion Kross up the card as well.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it would be better if I didn't already see 90% of the match a couple of weeks ago on Raw, or last week, whenever it was. And I like the new attitude. Well, I don't like the new attitude. I appreciate the new attitude of the New Day. It's a nice change of pace from what we've seen for the last, decade or so, since they've kind of been a thing. And I love the War Raiders, always have. Always been a big fan. Love that they got their old music back. So yeah, I'm excited. I'll give it like a 3 out of 5, maybe 3.5. Again, I would put it at a 4 if I hadn't already seen these two teams wrestle like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, so I've always been a New Day guy. Like, even before everyone liked New Day back in the day, I still liked them. So with them doing this, in my opinion, a much needed heel turn, getting rid of Big E, I think it added a bit more excitement to them. Now, in terms of this match in specific, I don't really know. It's hard to say because it almost feels like Triple H forgot about the New Day for a bit, and now we're here, and it's like, okay, sure, we got War Raiders versus New Day. That'll work. So I think it'll be a good match, but it's with the build up and stuff. I'm like, yeah, they beat them up after their match and all that. It's fine. It's whatever for a quick little build going on here, but I like New Day, so inherently I'm decently excited for this one as well. But I'm not necessarily jumping out of my boots for it either.
It's the Raiders and New Day, right? It's not a triple. It's just those two.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny. I texted a buddy recently, and I was like, I watched like something that I didn't like recently, and I was like in a jaded mood. But I was like, this card overall is okay. It doesn't feel truly incredible. Like it feels like a what if card. There's so many different things that could have happened. And he was like, honestly, we're just kind of spoiled because like there was a window of time that was not great at all. And the reason I say that is because that match stood out where I was like, do I care about this match? Like, I know who these people are. Like, I know New Day's heel now. Like, I know what's happening. And then honestly, the more you think about it, if you just watch any match recently, like the one Monday, it's exciting enough. It's the New Day heel. They've lost a little bit of interest since it happened. Like, they didn't really carry that momentum, but it's still a cool storyline. It feels like you never know if Big E's going to show up. So like that's kind of a nice thing. And then with the Raiders, they're entertaining as hell. They started off in that Vince McMahon era where they were literally Viking Raiders, but now they're way dialed back and they're just two badass big dudes. And like one of them's really athletic. So it is cool. Like, sorry, that was a long answer, but like it like is a cool match. Like it's just when you look at it quickly, you're like, but it's cool.
War Raiders and the New Day. I'm pretty excited for this one, actually. I'm excited to see a heel New Day on WrestleMania because we haven't seen that yet. We've never seen that before. A heel New Day, I think, will be a lot of fun at WrestleMania. And the War Raiders are just fun to watch as well. My excitement level is kind of like that, a 3.5 out of 5. It should be a solid match. Should be a lot of great spots. You got two athletic big men in the War Raiders and two outstanding athletes in Kofi and Xavier. I can't wait to see this match. Honestly, I think it will do well. I think it'll be an underrated match of the whole WrestleMania card. I am pretty excited for this match.
No, because, and this is, trust me, Dan, this hurts me more than it hurts most. I watched one of the smack. I don't remember which country it was in. I think it might have been in Berlin. I don't remember exactly where it was, but I watched a SmackDown where DIY defended the tag team championships. And despite the fact that the European crowd had been hot for just about every single person, when DIY came out, you could have heard a pin drop. They did not get a reaction at all. And again, you know me, Dan. That hurt personally. That ripped my soul right out of my body. But I couldn't help but sit there and say, obviously, DIY and therefore the SmackDown tag belts, obviously before they lost it to the Street Profits, were not really that hot of a product at that point. Now, yes, Street Profits got a huge ovation when they won it. However, I don't think it was enough to counteract everything that came before it, in which there just was not a lot of interest in these championships. Meanwhile, the War Raiders have had significant interest put into them for several months now. And obviously the New Day, despite them being like the best tag team in the world for almost a decade, right? So, you know, that's my opinion. I know I'm probably in the minority on that, but
imagine if New Day, after this heel turn, you know, one of the biggest tag teams in history. What if, imagine a world where after this heel turn, they don't make Mania? Like, it would make you question, like, okay, then what was the point? Because we're dealing with legacies here. So New Day turning heel is obviously is not as big as like Cena turning heel by any means, but it is a big deal. I mean, especially them how they did with Big E and all that. It was a big segment. So nothing with what we got for Smacked. It's Street Profits versus Motor City Machine Guns, right? You could argue in terms of like obviously bringing up, you know, teams or whatnot, sure. But if it was literally between New Day and quite, if we're comparing A sides anyway, if it's between New Day and like Street Profits, you're gonna have to pick New Day here. They just have more going for them. There's more that's been done with New Day, you know. So it sucks, but we are on night 2 of WrestleManias here. You know, we're doing 2 nights now. There's only so many matches you could have. And you know, perhaps next year we get to see Street Profits or Machine Guns, you know, elevate themselves to get on that Mania card, because it's exactly what Triple H said, right? We're talking about intrigue for matches is what makes match placements on cards, whether it's on a card, not on a card, or where it's placed in the card. And I don't know anyone who's that excited for the Street Profits Motor City Machine Guns feud or match here. So yeah, I would think it'd be a crime to see New Day, especially after this heel turn, miss out on Mania.
SmackDown tag title picture is a little better, more interesting between Raw and SmackDown, just because you have the Motor City Machine Guns now. They add such value. They're so good. They've been around so long and they're so entertaining. Whatever, it's always been like that. You know, one brand has a better division heading into Mania specifically. So, like, I wouldn't mind either. If they threw in a SmackDown tag team match for the championships, it'd be great.
I get the reasoning why a lot of people are arguing for this being the SmackDown tag titles instead of the Raw tag titles. But we've seen SmackDown really feature the tag titles a lot the last couple months. They've changed hands 3 times in like the past 5 months, I believe, something like that. So while SmackDown tag titles have gotten some love, maybe they'll be in the pre-show. That's not great. Obviously, they will be defended the Friday night of SmackDown before WrestleMania. I get it. All the titles should probably be on WrestleMania, but there's always room to have all 14 titles on the WrestleMania card. There's only going to be like 14, maybe 15 matches. So that doesn't allow for other feuds. You can't just say it's a title. It should be on the card. I think the Raw titles have been kind of pushed off and are finally getting steam. WrestleMania is going to be a good way to really put them back up on the perch a little bit more, while the SmackDown tag titles are doing well and will be relevant. And we got a lot of good teams there. Let's build up this Raw tag team titles again when it starts at WrestleMania 41.
The New Day haven't done a whole lot of winning lately. They really were just kind of jobbing out for a while after their heel turn. And you know me, Dan, you know that I can't freaking stand when people do that. When people turn heel and then they just lose. It makes me wonder why they even bothered. Because the whole point is like, oh, well, I'm not good enough as a good guy, so I'm going to become a bad guy so that I can win. And then I still don't. You might as well just stayed where you were at then, if that's how it was going to go. Because at least people liked you before. Now people hate you and you still suck. Like, there's no positives for you. So I think they're going to win those tag championships at WrestleMania.
Oh, God, New Day. Oh, I'd hope. Yeah, I would really hope after this. I mean, there's a story you could tell with New Day losing here. You know, them going even further and further down the rabbit hole, you know, getting more desperate, more heelish. There is a story that can be told there, but I don't think it's a story that needs to be told. I think we are already at the point where we've seen them as dastardly villains, as people, you know, they're doing anything they can to get those belts back. So, yeah, I think that because obviously their dry streak of not being champions, especially since they are, I believe, the second longest reigning tag team champions in history now. Used to be the longest until the Usos cracked that. It gives them enough validation and reasoning to, fight tooth and nail to be in that top spot again, because they are quite literally one of the most biggest tag teams in professional wrestling history, right? So yeah, I don't think that type of storyline is needed for this. I think that they should just win it and we get a heel run with the New Day, and depending on how long that might be, depending on how good, the consistency of them, all that varies. But I don't see why War Raiders should keep the belts here.
I'm gonna go. I'll go hot take. It's a serious take, but it's a little. I think New Day wins because I think Big E turns heel, comes out, big pop, crazy pop. Big E's here. Oh my God, yay! And then he just does the most vile, a really heel thing, kind of like. Well, then again, Cena just did it. Big E's not nearly comparable to Cena though, but that's a hot take. I think Big E comes down, turns heel. New Day wins. It's a crazy thing. They're all heel and the whole faction. I think that's my prediction.
My heart says the War Raiders. My mind says the New Day, because they're a heel. Why wouldn't you put the titles on them? But I'm going with my heart here. Granted, the New Day are heel. I like to see them chase us a little bit more. We haven't seen the Raw tag titles defended a whole lot the last couple months. Let's keep on the War Raiders just a little bit longer, and maybe give them to the New Day at Backlash or after Backlash.
So I'm at a 4 on this one. I'm really excited for this. It's been a year-long build between these two guys. It's a street fight, which I think is great. I think that's exactly where they needed to go with this. I think it's obviously it's not as much of a blood feud that Hell in a Cell is necessary, but it definitely had gotten to a point where a regular match just would not do. And so I'm glad that they made this a street fight. I think it really helps Damian Priest, because I think some of the best work that he's had in the business has been in street fights or in similar style matches. I'm thinking, of course, his match with Bad Bunny as a great example, right? I mean, and some of his best work has been where there's no rules, where he can just kind of be more aggressive and kind of let that style kind of really show itself. So I'm very excited about this match. I know there was a lot of chatter online early on, like a month ago, 2 months ago, that this was a nothing match. And I don't agree. I think that this is the perfect match for both these guys. You can't have everybody that everybody likes be in world title matches. As much as I would like for that to be a thing, it's just not. So I think that both these guys are in a really, really high and really, really well-deserved spot at Mania, and that's good enough for me.
Out of all the matches today, this is gotta be my most excited for, because primarily Drew McIntyre. Like, we talked about Liv Morgan earlier, about being on this hot streak. McIntyre the same way, just a hot streak going into Mania. His social media game, crazy good. Just everything about Drew. It's like Drew's the most fire he's possibly ever been was last year, So because of that, I am very intrigued. And Damian Priest, obviously in his own right, is a fun wrestler, but I'm not overly like a Damian Priest guy. And it's like, he was champion and we had all that. And we also had this story from last year where Drew obviously won and lost the belt within 5-10 minutes because of Priest. So, this got more of a build than the rest of these for me. And yeah, I'm actually this is one of my most anticipated matches for Mania, I would probably say.
Drew is Drew, and Damian's literally becoming, a top 5 figure in the company, probably by the next, 6-7 years. So, just by nature of they're actually matched up in size too. They're both fast. That'll be a great match. Probably it'll be quick. It wouldn't shock me if that's probably like a 11, 12, 13-minute match. Maybe more. Who knows? But there are a lot of matches on there. So it could be boring. It seems like it's like a Kevin Nash versus Triple H, but it could be fun. I think it'll be a good match. It's just a nice match to have. The more the merrier, I guess, at that logic.
It's finally here. The Drew McIntyre Damian Priest match that I'm incredibly anticipating. This is a 5 out of 5 for me. This match is probably my second most anticipated non-title match and third most anticipated match of the entire card. I've been waiting for this rivalry to rekindle itself since last year's WrestleMania when Damian Priest cashed in on Drew. And then Damian Priest went into his own stuff with the Judgment Day, finally got out of that. But then Drew was still into stuff with Punk. Then he went away. Now they're both on SmackDown, separated from their previous feuds from last calendar year. And so now they can go back at it, and they have been going back at it. Two big, strong guys. Priest sold the heck out of that hit on the steps last Friday, rolling back his eyes just a little bit, really bug-eyed, just sold the heck out of that hit, and I was just enraptured with this match. Again, this is just one of the most anticipated matches for me. It's going to be a slobber knocker. It's going to be a fist fight. I can't believe this is a street fight. I think it's perfect for these two. Both physical, brutal men. A street fight is perfect for these guys. I'm very much looking forward to this match.
I believe Drew McIntyre is going to win this match. Obviously, I could see Damian Priest pulling out the win, but I feel like, again, knowing, I don't know Triple H personally, of course, but just understanding Triple H in interviews and seeing how his booking has kind of gone, it seems like he likes to reward guys that have given their best effort throughout the year. And you can make an argument that nobody has had a better year from start to finish in terms of stepping up their game in ring, delivering on their matches, promos, everything than Drew McIntyre. You could certainly make that argument, and I would probably agree with you. And so I think Drew McIntyre's reward for his great season this season, of course, when we talk about, from WrestleMania to WrestleMania, will be being victorious, standing tall at WrestleMania.
I would hope to see Drew get his revenge. I would like to see him. I think once again I talk about deserving wins and the effort wrestlers put in, and it's hard to think of much wrestlers nowadays that put in more than Drew McIntyre right now. Like, he's just on fire, and I would like to see him win this match and then go on for maybe go for a world title feud shortly after. He's that good that he can make that work. Even if he eats a pin and lose, that's fine. But just like, he's in that level, stardom for me, and just effort, the level of talent with Drew right now. And obviously his matches, like the Punk versus Drew match at Hell in a Cell, like stuff that I could refer back to. While Priest has had a solid year, I'd say good enough, but I would say Drew is still probably on top here, and I would just like to see him obviously win this.
Give that to Drew. Drew really has to win that match. That'd be great for him too. You feel like his character hasn't really been progressing since the Punk rivalry. Like, Punk went up, and Drew didn't really fizzle, but I mean, just hasn't been involved as much since then.
The winner for this match for me is going to be Drew McIntyre. I love Damian Priest. I think he's great. I'm glad to see him out of the Judgment Day, be on his own, be his own man. But I just don't see him winning this match. Drew, I think, is going to outmatch him. Bigger, stronger. So I think Drew eventually prevails here. I think we're going to get a really good match, though. Looking forward to this being fought all over the arena. Just a lot of cool spots. I'm expecting a lot out of this match again. But I feel Drew ultimately wins this kind of as a reward for what he did with Punk. A reward for what he's been doing as a heel. He is a wonderful social media troll. He just does so much right for the WWE right now. And I think it's going to go a long way and reward him with a win. It's a win that won't be as scarring as winning the title and get taken away in 5 minutes like last year. And I think this is going to do wonders for Drew McIntyre, but I feel he wins at the end of the day.
So I believe it will end. I would venture to guess that if what I predict to be correct is what happens, then Drew McIntyre will probably propel himself into a world title picture, or at the very least, higher up in the card. Maybe that's when he goes after Roman. Who knows? And for me, I think Damian Priest would be a great first opponent for the Samoan werewolf Jacob Fatu to go after the United States Championship. So that's what I would do. Obviously, Drew is a little bit more what's the word? A little bit more finicky as to where he might end up, because if Cody retains at Mania, well, there you go. You just slide Drew right in. He's Cody's first opponent. That's perfect. But if Cena wins, that's kind of an awkward. I don't know if Drew would go after. Maybe he would, and I would like to see it. Obviously, I think that would be. I mean, you were here for my Cena booking. Be a heck of a promo between the promo battle between those two. So I don't know where Drew ends up, but that's where I'm at.
I'm a big fan of feuds ending at Mania. I don't care too much, like, depending on the story, of course, but I don't care much for stories continuing after Mania, because Mania is, even to this day, the season finale of wrestling, right? Like, we do have those big cards in Saudi Arabia and, all that fun stuff. And obviously SummerSlam and all these other main pay-per-views have elevated themselves to that level to some degree. Mania is still Mania, and it should be treated as that season finale. So because of that, and also I just think the story is about wrapping up here for me. I think this should be it. Drew, I already mentioned that I think that we should get him as perhaps the next in line for a world title, maybe that mix. And then Damian is hard to say, because it's like, the problem with Damian losing this match is I question what's it going to do for him. Like, Drew could bounce back. Damian could also, but I think it'd be harder for him to. And I don't really know where he goes from here. It's a hard call. Like, yeah, I'm thinking of all the titles right now, and all the people. I'm like, I don't know. That's the only thing that sucks about this is I would like to see Drew win, but I would argue Damian might need it more than Drew. But even then, if Damian wins, then what's next, right? You can throw him into another title, mix. Like, I don't know. I don't really know what we're gonna do with Damian from here. It's a bit of a hard one for me.
It's like they could ride out this rivalry, Drew and Damian, as long as they want. It's like, Drew has many other things to be doing, I guess. Like, they don't need to ride it out. Both these guys are going to end up going in a positive direction without each other. This feels like just a quick little, get through Mania, have you guys on the card kind of thing, and go from there. So you could go either way. I kind of hope that it doesn't continue, only just because, I mean, it's not like it's awful. It needs to end, but it feels like Drew could just be so much more, especially in the SmackDown scene specifically. I feel like Drew and Seth isn't done. We kind of could pull that back in, but I mean, there's Drew specifically should just be on the, like, you could do Drew and Cody. Like, Drew should be, much higher on a card, like main event type player, like, this time last year type thing. But and then it's hard to tell with Priest, because he's kind of in that quasi broken out of a faction stage still, where he's on his own, but you don't know, what direction he's going in, especially with Jay and Gunther. I don't know. I just think Priest, you could do a lot with. Priest, I feel like you could, just similar to Drew, he's just a little bit younger and still a little raw, but you could put him anywhere. You could put him in a tag team with someone again. You turn him heel. Damian, it's only up for him basically, and he's still very young.
The feud as a whole, I think this blows off the feud. Drew's like, I finally got my revenge for losing my title to this guy last year. Now I'm going to go focus on a title. I would not be surprised to see Drew in a title feud. I think he is a worthy opponent for Cena. I think he can compete for that Undisputed Championship if Cena wins it, or if Cody retains, honestly. I think Drew can go toe-to-toe with either of those guys. And maybe Drew gets drafted back to Raw. I hope not, but maybe Drew gets drafted back to Raw, and he's in the World Heavyweight Championship picture again. I think he stays on SmackDown, though, for a while, and I think he's in the title picture, or he's in main event feuds at least. But Drew, I think, gets into that title picture. Damian, I think he goes into a title picture as well, but it'll be the U.S. title. I think we need a few more bodies for that. I think he'd fit perfect in that program. It wouldn't be demotion for him at all. I think he works well with that group of wrestlers that is in that title. I think that title is going to get elevated here soon, just because of the guys that are fighting over it, with Knight, and Fatu, and Solo probably Braun Strowman. Throw Damian Priest in that mix, and I think you're going to just have a buttload of fun with them all together. Both go into title pictures, but they both go their separate ways here.
The ruler, Oba Femi. I don't see him. I don't see him giving up that title anytime soon, Dan. He is. I don't want to say by far because I don't know if that's really true, but he is the most popular superstar in NXT, and I don't know if it's particularly close. Like, it might be particularly close because Trick is still getting obviously great receptions everywhere he goes, but I could see Trick turning heel soon, if not at Stand and Deliver. So I think Oba Femi's going to carry that championship for a long, long time. He's young. There's no reason to take that belt off of him yet. He's not getting called up to me anytime soon. I'm going with Oba.
Oba. It seems like a safe bet, him being as dominant and all that. If he loses, I don't see him eating a pin, I'd say a safe bet would be Oba here.
All right, for my NXT championship pick for the men's side, I like Trick. I really do. I think he's a great guy, but I just don't see anybody beating the force that is Oba Femi. Sorry, Javon Evans, you're probably taking the pin here, but I don't see anybody toppling the mammoth Oba Femi.
Jada Parker. Sorry. So this is the hardest one for me to think because, I mean, obviously 4 tremendous women, and they have all had great years. Jordan Grace hasn't had a lot of work in NXT yet, but anybody who knows anything about Jordan Grace, how great of a 2024 and 2025 she's had before she even got here. I think if I had to put money on it, I would say Stephanie's just going to retain because they really, really like Stephanie in NXT. I mean, from what I've understood, there were reports coming out that Julia was working hurt and injured, so that's why she lost the belt. I don't think that's true for a lot of reasons that I will not get into here because I'll get in trouble. But I think that one of the main things that I think really has happened is they brought Stephanie and Julia in at around the same time. And I think Stephanie just kind of is a little more popular with the NXT crowd than Julia is. And I think ultimately that's what they decide. They just said, we were hoping Julia was going to be more. And that's not to say she's not popular. She's very popular. She gets great reactions every week that she's there. But Stephanie gets better reactions by even if it's by 10%, it's still better. And so I think that's why they went with Stephanie. So I think they're going to really cement and have her get it. If not, I could see Julia really fully turning and getting that belt back. And then you have a big time feud between the two. That's the only other outsider shot that I can see, but I'm going with Stephanie.
Yeah. Okay. I see Julia. Yeah. I would like to see her win anyway.
The NXT Women's Championship, 3 massive names and a young up-and-comer and Jada Parker. Stephanie McIntyre, Julia, they're from outside WWE, have already made a stamp on NXT. Julia's back. She looks like she's going to be a heel. And then you got Jordan Grace, who was here before all of them. And hopefully she's not the forgotten woman in this match. I hope it showcases all of them well. But my pick here is Stephanie to retain the title as well.
So obviously this is being recorded for the number 1 contenders match. My guess is Ethan Page is just going to win that, but you never know. It could be a fatal 5-way, and Stand and Deliver could have 0 one-on-one matches. Who knows? But I'm taking Ricky Saints. He just won the championship. I know I said that Oba Femi's the most popular superstar in NXT, and it's not even close. The reason why I could think that other than Trick is because Ricky Saints. He's very popular. He just won the championship. There's almost no way they're just ripping the belt right off of him. He is, again, probably going to hold that for quite a while, so I'm taking Ricky Saints.
I do see Ethan Page winning that match, in my prediction anyway, but I don't think it really matters. I think we're going to see a retain here from Ricky Saints for sure.
The North American title for the men, I have to say this is going to stay on Ricky Saints. I almost said Ricky Starks. He's Ricky Saints. I've really liked that he's come in, already captured the crowd. They put this championship on him as quick as they could. I don't see them taking it off of him anytime soon. A lot of good feuds are waiting for him, and it's going to kick off here at Stand and Deliver. All right, thank you everyone for joining. I appreciate Tyler and Chris and Joe all contributing this week and in the past few weeks. It's been great. Expect to see them more throughout the year with wrestling related topics. Can't wait to see what we all kind of come up with in the coming weeks and months. If you like this video, please give it a like. Please subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. What matches are you really looking forward to this WrestleMania? What are you not looking forward to? Who do you think is going to win some of the bigger matches? Any of the matches? Leave all those in the comments below. Please let us know what you think. Again, give this video a like, subscribe, share with all your wrestling fans, and we will see you next time.